Hello world, I was Super Test coming to you live from Web3. I'm going to be reporting the areas that I've learned throughout the day. Definitely more of a technical day, focusing specifically on Solidity, building smart contracts, doing some projects, and getting my feet wet with code and progressing as a developer. Then also got a good moment to take a step back and view things holistically from a biz ops perspective as well, discuss some roadmap trajectory with the team, and also some specific art theme-based approach that we want to do. So that's super exciting. So I'll start off discussing what I learned in the morning. I really focused on learning special functions in Solidity. The areas that I took were contract inheritance from Open Zeppelin. I went into detail of how to use the library and how the library has special files that you inherit, and it protects your code and your contract from attacks like reentrancy functions, and makes you just leverage the code. So from that, it also helped to know how to kind of move and Lego piece the code together. That's the beauty of it, is that since everything is really open source, you don't have to build a lot of things from the ground up. You just have to find existing code, tailor it to your convenience and needs, and you can have something running. So that's super exciting. And the areas that we got into, oh, and actually forgot to mention this, I was able to get code through a repository. Shout out to Hashlips, great channel on YouTube, very passionate teacher. And I was able to learn about a script that would allow to do random art generation. So you just add your layers, your images, run the script, and you can have variants of your images. So obviously, we're planning something in the NFT world for Learnio, for Learn. Is thinking about how we can do something with art and leverage the utilization into the education spectrum, because that's where our core passion really relies on, education. So it's how do we leverage the NFT world, transition its utilization into a strong roadmap to build a functionable and really revolutionary Web3 app. So that's the grand picture, but to get there, you have to know what you're doing. And obviously there's a lot of chains to learn from. Like if you pick up Solana and you're going to be building smart contracts, you're going to be learning Rust. If you're going to be learning Ethereum, you gotta know Solidity. And if you're in Cardano, or actually in Tezos, you learn Michelson. I forgot what Cardano is built on. It might be Haskell. I think it's an older language. But the point being is you have to understand kind of the protocol process of what you're building. Specifically with Web3, since it's so early, you have to get the Lego pieces to build the infrastructure for what you're trying to do in the first place. It's not like you can just kind of borrow an existing platform and just slap it on, customize it, and make it your own feel. To build something in Web3, there's tools out there, but you have to have a base understanding on how to operate and build from the ground up. It's not as easy to build compared to Web2, where Web2 is you don't really have to have an in-depth technical understanding to build. You can leverage a lot of tools and resources, but to operate and to even think ahead to predict how the utilization can move forward, you got to understand how the current technology can evolve, and then doing the tweaks and variations that are necessary to get to that point. And that leads to me learning Solidity at the moment, focusing on being a more of a dApp developer, learning smart contracts on the higher tier of the chain. Ideally, really long term, is I want to get to core development. I want to understand protocols, processes. That's why I'm reading the depths about encryption, public addresses or private addresses, how they hash out to public addresses, how the public address is just a hash. The wallets we use are just last 20 digits of the wallet, and like the level of encryption that it gets to the point. So I want to understand the full picture to the protocol, to the layers, and be a core to the core point. And with that understanding, you can build, you have foundation, you can expand and predict, and you have a vision, you know how to get to that point. So that's super exciting. Then I also wanted to IPFS, downloaded the Mac app. I was having some issues opening it, but the goal with this was to get an image onto a decentralized platform where it would essentially live forever, right? That's the goal with it. And the goal with that was to get the URI and connect that to the JSON metadata for the NFT. So the NFT is on chain, and on chain there's the image URI, and that allows it to be in a decentralized manner, which makes it essentially live forever. And that's the goal with the NFT. You don't want to have it in a centralized platform. Even though they say IPFS could be centralized, I could see that element, but the way it operates is more in a decentralized manner. So obviously there's that component. And if you do everything on chain, it gets very expensive. So I learned more about that. I think it's called content addressing, the intricacies of that. I learned about a software named Pinata, which is better UX for IPFS. Then I went into contract inheriting, like I opened up with the Open Zeppelin, and then working on that too. I also went into hard hat, so it's how to set local environments, essentially how to get Ethereum into your machine locally. That way you can just run scripts and test it firsthand, and then once you're ready, you can deploy it to a test network where it'll be living on a test chain rather than just at a local environment. And the processes of that, like invisible miners from hard hat or from your local environment, how it compares to the fake chain or the test net, getting a fake ETH, and just getting really in depth with the space. So, you know, it's builder, hard hat, putting the hard hat on. That's super cool. I'm loving the experience. And some technical fact I found out is that any action that changes data on the chain is called a transaction. So any change to state variables, any function pushing or moving data to the chain is a transaction, because you got to send ether to the contract. The ether has to be received, and that's a transaction, right? It's moving money, and that was awesome. Then I went into detail about the Rinkeby network. Got to see how to test it out with that. I was able to test or create a test NFT on that network and push it to OpenSea, and just see the bridge from running code, pushing it from your environment to the test net, and then from the test net, seeing it on test OpenSea. So it's super exciting, right? It's all a full picture for the NFT. You got the smart contract, you got your image, you got your environments, you're pushing it. So really getting close to a nice finish line, and at least to the conversation of what's next, right? What happens when we get to the point. And this is where it's an interesting conversation, because Web3 is so new. There isn't references on what could be built. It isn't like we're saying, oh, we're going to build YouTube for education, right? The YouTube company, that entity on Web3 doesn't exist yet. So there isn't empirical company out there that someone can get reference from. And that's why I mentioned it's so important to understand the foundation, the infrastructure, because you will be able to make judgment calls of what is capable of being built in this new terrain. It's really a new terrain. So that's fascinating, extremely, super exciting for that. And some areas that I've been peeping have been on-chain credentials or competency verification. So I learned about POAP, POAP, where it's essentially an NFT validation of some quizzes or competency in a certain area of knowledge. And that leads to the question, okay, how can this become like an economy within a platform where educators get rewarded, learners get incentivized, at least tokenization, that becomes token economics, it's extremely complex. Then you also jump into DeFi, and the space gets very spread out of multiple areas. And like I said, there's nothing to be referenced from, so it leads to a open space. All right, so tomorrow I'm gonna keep putting my head down, keep on learning, get closer to the NFT process, have a conversation in detail about the roadmap with the team, and we're just gonna keep on building. All right, so today was September 27th. It was a great day to build and learn. Cheers to the future. I'll see you tomorrow.